Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Equip and Empower podcast with Stella. And my special guest today is Dr. Lauren Duroy. Welcome, Dr. Lauren. It is so amazing to have you this afternoon with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it is exciting to do this podcast because there's just so much fruit coming from it, right? It's I hear so many people are gaining wisdom, gaining understanding, and truly when they're imparting it into their lives, they are thriving physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And
Mhm.
today I am so excited. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Lauren Dutoy, she has so much title because God just opened up so much gifts within her. This I was telling her right before we came live that I don't even know how to pronounce all of these, but she is a doctor of nursing practitioner. She's an advanced practice registered nurse. She's a functional medicine family practitioner. Anyways, she has so much gifts within her, but the amazing gift that you have, um, Lauren, it's that you really are anchored in Christ.
Mm.
That is for me my greatest pleasure to see somebody who is anchored in the Lord and able to release those gifts within you to help others to thrive. And
Mm.
that is such a blessing to have you here that we can help others.
Yes, well, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, and it wouldn't ever, I mean, nothing would have ever become fruitful if it wasn't for the Lord. So it's, yeah.
Yes. And we actually met last year, the first time we did a conference together.
2 years
And
ago, yeah.
2 years ago, you're right. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
2
two
years
years
ago we
ago.
met, yeah. Mhm.
Gosh,
Time
time is
flies.
flying. It just seems like since 2020, these years has just combined in one long year.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think we all went, 2020 blink, it's 2025.
Yes, that's exactly right. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself. What made you get into this lane of nurse practitioner, doctor of functional medicine? Like, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I started out, I was very passionate about the science and medicine. I went into nursing, and then specifically because I wanted to become a nurse practitioner. And I felt a calling to be a little bit more holistic, I guess, than the typical medical. Like even going into nursing, I knew that that was more of where God was pulling me. And I got my second bachelor's, and my doctorate. And I graduated and took over a clinic, and it was my dream to do so. And I really just was very excited about it. I knew God had told me, don't worry about the school loans, just go for it. It's actually one of the first times I heard his voice was, don't worry about the school loans.
Mm.
And whenever I got into family practice, I felt, I had just had my first son, and I was pregnant whenever I took over the clinic, and then I went into maternity leave, and then I came back, from maternity leave, and I was barely seeing my newborn baby, and I
Mm.
really felt lost almost instantly in my brand new career that I thought God had led me to. So I not only felt as if I had spent the last 8 years of my life striving towards something that I couldn't keep up with and I couldn't balance. And so I not
Mm.
only felt like a failure emotionally in that way, but I felt like a failure spiritually because I thought there's no way that God called me to this, because I'm a firm believer that it goes, your focus, your attention, your energy should be most spent with God, then with family, then with your career. And while
Absolutely.
my career is very important and I love healing people, and that is, of course, I love it, I
Yes.
knew that my life was not in alignment. So I knew this was not from God. And it all changed. One day I was sitting there and it was about 7 o'clock at night, and bedtime for my child was 8. And that sounds horrible, but I was sitting there trying to finish up my charting, and I just was completely exhausted and just spent that I pulled up my phone, slumped in my chair, and I started scrolling. I was doing the scroll of death and on
Oh.
social media. And I came across this post that said, it was Wayne Dyer, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Mhm.
And originally I felt convicted, as in I should be grateful because my family was provided for. We had a house, we had, food. My child was born healthy, and
Yeah.
I felt convicted, like, you need to change, the way you're looking at things. Don't be, Debbie down on yourself.
Mhm.
And then, I started thinking about it. It reminds me in Romans how it says we're not to be conformed by the things of this world, but be transformed by the thinking of our mind through the Lord.
Correct.
And I realized that what he was telling me was, you have everything you need to put this
Mm.
together the way that you're called to. You just have to look at things differently. And
Right.
that's where it was born for me, what I call multidimensional vision. And spiritually, I can
Exactly.
kind of get into that. I believe we all kind of fell from multidimensional
Mhm.
vision. And
Yes.
whenever Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, we went from,
Mhm.
a multidimensional vision down to a 3D
Yeah.
vision. And we can only
Mhm.
see the things stopping us or hiding us or keeping us from
Right.
going for our dreams and our purpose. And so I realized that, you know, what what God told me, is if you lead with your human perception, you're going to fall to deception. But if you lead
Mm.
with divine connection, you'll rise to
Oh,
perfection. And
hallelujah. I love it.
so I started figuring out, how do I time hack my day? How do I utilize the knowledge that I have to help more people, to be able to help more people, but keep my life in alignment? And
Right.
so,
Mhm.
really long story, like a couple of years, long story short, from that, the Institute for Functional Nurses and the Academy of Functional Medicine was born. And then now, I'm able to balance my life and see my
Yeah,
family, and I mostly work from home, which is a blessing in that, and that my children actually
that's
see
right.
me. I have two children
Yeah,
now, so
I
yeah,
love
that's
it.
very
But
full
what a
nutshell.
blessing, because you did not give up on the calling on your life. You
Mhm,
actually just allowed God to refocus your vision from a 3D to a divine perspective and
mhm.
continually flow. And then he gave you wisdom on the how to.
Yes, yeah, yeah. No, it was completely through him. I mean, you say that, I didn't allow my vision to fall, and I'll be honest with you, I did. He picked me back up. He was like, no, like, you're not looking at this right. And that's why I always like to tell people that if you feel like you're in a setback, or you feel like, things aren't going the way that they're supposed to be going, most likely you've just been set up, and you need to figure out how the enemy's been attacking you and how to get out of that. And the God will teach us how to do that. You just have to keep that kind of that vision for more. And
And it all begins in the mind. And that's why the last couple of
yeah.
weeks we've been talking about mental health, because if your mental health is not sound,
Hmm.
then your perspective of life, perspective of your purpose is
Hmm.
distorted. And you will
Exactly.
not be able to function in it, because the distortion of this world view and hopelessness and all the attacks will come creep
Yes.
in. And we are not exempt from those attacks, but
Hmm.
aligning our thoughts. And that was this your testimony, actually, that you allowed to God to align your thinking, and then
Hmm.
his strength, his grace, his provision came with it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I today we was talking about how we can connect, because I love how you have the understanding of gut health, of physical body, and our
Hmm.
emotional well-being and our mental well-being. And as me and you talked for a couple of days ago, you mentioned that there is a gut health and mental health connection.
Hmm.
And I thought
Yeah.
how amazing that is if we could really set this up for those who are listening, to have some tools how to take care of the
Hmm.
physical body on the gut health, because I really believe this our gut health is our second brain,
Yes,
right?
yeah, yeah, your enteric system is called your second brain. Yeah, it's the neurons in
Right. And
your intestines, absolutely, mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
so give us a little bit understanding on that.
Oh,
Like
sure.
like me
So,
and you talked about it. Let's start all over our conversation.
let's dive in. Okay, yeah, this is my favorite thing to talk about, and a little bit biased because this is what brought me to functional medicine. I had, goodness, really close to just debilitating IBS. I had anxiety and depression, and as a Christian especially, I felt a lot of conviction. Conviction is not the exact word I'm looking for. I felt very shameful and guilty that I was suffering from anxiety and depression, because we're supposed to lay everything at Jesus' feet and not worry. And I see
Yeah.
so many clients, I've seen so many patients that are this way, and there's so much guilt around that. And what we don't realize is that our physical body can literally be blocking our brain from making the neurotransmitters. So for
Yeah.
example, when I had IBS, it's really it's a totally different, I like to say, like, I break people's brain. Like, I break the way
Yes.
you think at things, because it's a really different way of looking at it than conventional medicine. Even I myself really thought it was just foo-foo science whenever I first started hearing about it.
Mhm.
And I like to tell patients and people that it's really ironic. I had a patient come to me before I was doing or functional medicine, and she said, "Do you think a parasite could be causing me Hashimoto's?" And I was
Mm.
like, I don't want to laugh in front of anybody. I thought, just don't laugh. Like, no, I think I would have learned about that in my conventional training if that were true. And the irony is that I was sitting there with a parasite in
Yes.
me causing my IBS, or being a part of my IBS. And
Mm.
what we don't realize is the same thing that we were taught as children, that
Mm.
the foot bones connected to the leg bone, and the leg
Right.
bones connected to the hip bone. Hip
Mhm.
bones connected to the backbone, right? And our
Yeah.
body is an entire system. You can't break that apart. The mental,
Mm.
physical, spiritual, it is all one. And if you neglect
That's
any of
right.
that, it's going to impact the other part of it.
Mhm.
So, and that's what I practice on. My model is the neuronexus biome that I've developed, and that's how I treat people. It's mind, body, and
Mm.
spirit, essentially, but a little bit different.
I love it.
And so when I corrected my gut, I mean, it
Mm.
was so debilitating, and I was starting to have autoimmune symptoms, dry, like Sjögren's,
Mhm.
bilateral shoulder pain, bilateral foot pain. I was in my early 20s and really healthy. I was eating healthy, I was working out, and I was
Mhm.
still just having this horrible gut pain. You have to remove the bad stuff before you can really
Mm.
heal, and that's
Right.
where we kind of lose. And I can get into the details on that if I don't know how
Mm.
technical we want to get. Um, but whenever I corrected my gut,
Mm.
I started realizing that my joint pain went away,
Wow.
and
Wow.
my dry eye went away, and
Mhm.
my anxiety and depression, I would say that it took probably about a year, a course of a year, for that to really correct.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when I realized that, I just knew that in conventional medicine, we were missing something really big.
Yes. I
And
agree.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, like, that's how that was, brought up into my life. And then,
Mhm.
I started telling patients, like, "This is a little bit weird, but, I
Mhm.
think I have a different way of treating you if you're open to it." And some patients were like,
Yes.
"Yes,
Mm.
anything." Like, they just,
That's right.
I totally understand the pain, like, the emotional pain of having these things. I mean, my neck hurt so bad that my baby boy, who was just, like, 1 at the time, he would probably, like, 1 and a half, he'd squeeze my little neck, he'd squeeze my neck, and I'd have to tell him to back out from, "Don't, mommy has a bad neck, mommy has a bad neck." And
Mhm.
he felt like he was hurting me when he's supposed to be trying to give
Right.
me love. And it's
Yeah.
like the emotional pain that is associated with that, or not being
Mm.
able to go and eat somewhere, having an invisible disease. That's why I always tell my practitioners who go through
Mhm.
my courses, you are the voice for the pain, for the visible pain. Like, you're the voice for that, because
And
there's so many.
autoimmune is really an invisible pain.
Yes,
You yourself experience
exactly.
it, but in the outside, people say nothing wrong with you. And I
Mhm,
had that experience because I was dealing with Hashimoto for 20 plus
mhm,
years. And when I saw the conventional endocrinologist, I never forget this. He said, "Oh, just take the thyroid medication and eat whatever you want." But by that time, I start to having more understanding
mhm,
of food and of gluten sensitivity and certain stuff. And I was following Dr. Vance is her name. She is
mhm,
a thyroid pharmacist. I think she started out. But I started reading her books and getting more understanding. So I went back to this doctor and I'm like, "Well, sir, I really believe that gluten sensitivity and dairy, like I need to maybe cut this out." He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, "You
mhm.
can eat whatever you want, just stay under like 1,200 calories a day." With
Oh, I
1,200
tried that
calories a day, I would I will be invisible.
Yeah, no, that's
I
what
do
they
have a
say.
high metabolism. I mean, lately hormones are different, but uh,
Yeah.
I do have a high metabolism. 1,200 calorie, I will be fainting.
Mhm.
And so that was the answer from a conventional side. And in 2018, I started to learning more about it. But those who are listening and have really, they feel stuck because all they know is the conventional side.
Mhm. Yeah.
And like one of my friends, and she's probably listening, I'm mentioning her again, but I'm not giving no names out. But I was just for a couple weeks ago mentioned about parasites.
Mhm.
And she like, I don't have no parasites. What you talking about? That's
I know, it sounds
crazy.
crazy. It
Like
does. Yeah.
instantly, like she was like, no, this is not real. And
Yeah.
because I have here some. It is so crazy, but I will show y'all. Um I dried some papaya seeds.
Mhm.
So
There you
papaya,
go. Yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
see it. But instead of going and just buying the supplement, I love papaya, the fruit.
Mhm.
And so I cut the fruit up and get the seeds out and air dry them or in the air fryer, dry them up. And they say 1 teaspoon of
Mhm.
papaya seed, if you take it, it gets rid of parasites in
Mhm.
your system. And so I started doing, certain stuff that I learned over, but a lot of people who are actually right now listening,
Yeah.
they really don't have the understanding. So what is the link between our gut health, autoimmune, parasitic
Mhm.
incidences, and our mental health?
Yeah. So you have we talk about allostatic stress load in the functional model. And what that is, all of our body, all of us are exposed to environmental stressors, toxins, chemical, physiological stress, like an injury, mental stress that spikes our cortisol, that adds to inflammation in our body.
Mhm.
There's so many different pathways that we have stressors, toxins, phthalates. There's a lot of like chemicals and plastics, those type of things. Also, you can be producing your gut itself. So if you have gram-negative bacteria that are subclinical, meaning that if you go to a conventional, and I've done this on patients, do a conventional lab, it will show up negative. They're not specific and sensitivity is not high enough on them. You go to a functional lab and you will see that you have subclinical infections there. That
Mhm.
causes, so there's several different pathways. Several. One pathway that's affected is that inflammation. The
Mhm.
second pathway is that the inflammation in the gut and that connection to the gut brain axis is that 95% of your serotonin is supposed to be made in your gut. If
Mhm.
you have inflammation in the gut, it blocks that from
Mhm.
being able to produce those serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, one of our feel good neurotransmitters. So when we don't have enough of those, and we also have inflammation that's blocking it from being able to work the correct
Mhm.
way, you have a misalignment there. The other thing is nutritional deficiencies. So I myself, which most everybody is deficient in vitamin D,
Right.
magnesium.
Mhm.
This is not a medical recommendation. Don't just go start a medication.
Right.
You need a
Absolutely.
practitioner, but
Yes.
because too much can also be really bad. You can cause cardiac arrhythmias in magnesium, not vitamin D, but magnesium. And
Mhm.
so, you need to be testing and not guessing
Right.
and working with a provider. But those are very important for our mental health. There are very strong associations between magnesium and vitamin D deficiency and higher rates of depression.
Mm.
One way that interacts with that gut brain axis is that if we have the inflammation in the gut and we don't have the right receptors in our gut, we don't absorb the vitamin D. We don't absorb the magnesium. We don't absorb the things that we
So
need.
if the inflammation is present, you will not absorb those supplements?
Yes, inflammation plays a part in that, but just also the dysbiosis in the gut. So the inflammation, a dysbiosis meaning you don't have the right microorganisms there.
Mhm.
That itself causes inflammation and then causes you to block being able to absorb certain nutrients.
Mhm. So if somebody is right now listening and they really don't have a functional medicine doctor that they can go to, because
Mhm.
those can be also costly, being honest.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
Mhm.
functional medicine doctors taking insurance.
Mhm. Yeah.
What can
Yeah,
they
and we're
do
not
about
able to take insurance because
it?
as a provider, Like these are things that need to be shared publicly. As
Yeah.
a provider, if I don't vaccinate somebody, if I don't put them diabetic and I don't put them on a statin, I get dinged for that. The more
Mhm.
you get dinged, the less reimbursement you get. You don't get paid for it.
Mhm.
You're literally kind of handcuffed to make sure that you're treating them in a way that is anti root cause treatment. And,
Mhm.
not to get this blocked or anything, but honestly, if you're getting somebody off a prescription medication,
Mhm.
you're not adding to the bottom line in that system.
Mhm. That's
You don't
right.
have somebody always coming back. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of control in that is not
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
and
great.
I believe right now we're in a, God is shaking up everything
So
that
much so, yeah.
is
Yeah.
shakeable. And
Yeah.
coming from the Christian standpoint and
Mhm.
me coming from a foreign country to America, I really believe that God is doing a great thing here,
Mhm.
including in the health.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think we will have some changes as we will maybe see soon in this area because the leadership is want to target health more than get you on all kind of drugs
Yeah,
because there are so
yeah.
many people
Mhm.
taking 10, 15, 20 plus medication daily just
Mhm.
to function. And then here you are, God exposing the truth that you
Mhm.
can actually really be healed, just don't know how to. And then also fear comes with it. Like for me, I was so brainwashed
Mhm.
by so I grew up, I had a lot of health issues growing up. And I can recall I was all my adolescent, childhood on antibiotic at least 5 to 10 times a year.
Mhm. Mm.
All
Mm.
my
Yeah.
growing up, all the way until I was at 24.
Oh,
So
goodness. Yeah.
from baby to 24, I called my doctor penicillin doctor. I always told my
Mhm.
mom, "Are we going to the penicillin doctor because you have headache?
Wow.
Penicillin. Uh,
Oh, no.
Italy, you have a cold? Penicillin." So my body is resistant to those because
Yeah.
I grew up, that was like having a cough drop and they just give you.
Oh.
So that affected my body, not knowing because all I knew is he's giving me the right thing because he's the doctor. He trying to help me out,
Mhm.
and he did try to help me out, but he was brainwashed by the
Yes.
system.
Yeah, and I always want to make that a point in that, there's a lot of people that will in the conventional I'm truthfully still integrative in that I'm not completely anti-conventional. I just think we overuse conventional and it
Right,
shouldn't be first line.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm not anti-conventional. And I'm also not anti the providers. Like even the ones that attack me now for,
Mhm,
being, for leaving conventional and going into functional. And
mhm,
it's because, I was the same way. I was skeptical. We've all been trained that way. And there's no kickback from physicians, nurse practitioners, PAs. There's no kickback for us like prescribing medications.
mhm.
We don't get paid more if we write a prescription. I've had patients say, "Oh, it's because you get paid if you're on a script." When I was in fully conventional. And that's not the case,
Mhm.
but just like you said, we have literally been indoctrinated to believe
Absolutely.
that it is this way
Yeah.
and that there is no other way, that this
Mhm.
is the holy grail of medicine, and if we don't know it, then it isn't true. And we've
Yes.
really just been told that, and
Mhm,
that's where I'm actually really thankful for some of the practitioners that when I first started, honestly, like, not physically rolled my eyes, but mentally rolled my eyes at,
yeah.
because they went in there and they broke down that mold, and they were that loud voice that needed to be there, what is it called? The
Mhm.
noisy cog or wheel or whatever it is. Yeah,
Mhm.
that really broke that down. And so it's a good point to say that, yeah. And I know you mentioned at one time, like, if somebody is not able to get a practitioner, I'm not sure what or say
Right,
exactly
because there
what you
are
recommend.
like, Dr. Hyde was here on a fully loaded organization with us, and she was a functional medicine. She came from 20 plus years OBGYN into the functional medicine,
Yeah.
and she had the passion, just like you and Eunice. Yeah, have the passion and the calling on your life. And there were so many times as we had these chats and classes, And then people's like, oh yes, I need this. Like I need
Mhm.
help to get over this depression and anxiety and this hopelessness
Mhm.
and this pain in my body.
Yes.
Like I have a friend of mine, she has chronic pain. She lives with it for decades.
Mm.
And so going to those functional medicine, they don't have the funds for that. They
Mm-mm.
don't have the finances for that.
Yes.
So how can we have those?
So it's really that's really funny that you ask because the last week or two, I actually just recently like this kind of came to me, and I feel very, 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 very convicted to get it finished. I am I've never seen this done before, really, and there's going to be some things that I have to be careful in making, educating people and not being giving medical advice to somebody that's not my,
Patient.
patient. Yeah, that we have all the, T's crossed and
Right.
I's dotted and everything. But when I'm actually looking at building and is doing more of a patient led just education.
Mhm.
Whenever you have the right information,
Mhm.
you really can actually treat yourself with functional medicine. To be
Mhm.
honest, I treated myself before I was quote unquote board certified,
Right.
because you really have that knowledge
Mhm.
as long as you have the right knowledge. The issue in functional medicine, and that's why I actually started our institute and our academy, is because I mean there is still unfortunately in functional medicine, the drawback is that there is some woo-woo science there. There are some practitioners that are not benefiting. They are
Mhm.
or, influencers who are giving information that's trending and exciting, and
Yes.
they know how to do marketing and position things. So you're
Yes.
like, "Oh, this is my answer." And
Mhm.
so you're sharing it and excited about it, and it
Yeah.
doesn't actually help. And that
Mm.
hurts the overall profession
Right.
because they are supplements and it's not, it's not protected
Mhm.
by licensed bodies. But so there's double-edged sword to everything, and that's the double-edged sword in functional medicine. So when I'm actually working on it's not built yet. It is a vision of mine, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get it done.
Mhm.
Hopefully, really in the next few weeks. I don't know, starting it. I'm
Mhm.
really wanting to do kind of a patient-led. And if I had something where I could recommendation for people to go to right now, I 100% would. Don't
Yes.
know of it though, because like you said, it is difficult. I mean, from the practitioner's point of view, we do have to work with a patient very in depth. We have to do, nutrition plan and
Mhm.
physical plan, stress, decreasing your stress. I have like a mindset academy that I take people through to really transform the thoughts in their minds
Mhm.
and those type of things. And it's very, I mean, when you do it right, it's very highly intense.
That's
So
awesome.
it's not an easy like walk in, see me for 15 minutes, here's your pill.
That's right.
But yeah, that's what I'm working on, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I love that. Well, I pray
Yeah.
that, God giving you the wisdom, the
Thank
resources,
you. Yes, thank
the
you. Yeah,
finances, and the
yeah.
aid that you need to
Thank you.
execute that because
Yeah.
we need it.
Yeah,
Like
I think so.
the
Yeah, I really
community needs
yeah.
it. We need because if we individually not healthy, our community is not healthy.
No,
Because
yeah,
if you're not feeling well, you calling into work, you're not feeling to go into church. I mean,
correct.
everything is
Yes.
affected. Spiritually, every aspect
Yeah,
your family is affected by
yeah.
you not feeling good. So
Well, and I 100% believe that that is how the enemy keeps most people down. I mean, it is it's a very charged subject, and I know that it can come off. It can trigger shame, and that's not my goal. It's not never my goal to trigger shame. But
Mhm.
like for example, even just like this is going to sound horrible, but having
Mhm.
things like chemicals and red dyes that we know increase ADHD in children and anxiety in
I had
adults and
no
children.
idea until 1, 2 weeks ago
Mhm.
when finally Robert Kennedy, they exposed us
Mhm.
the red 40 is
Yes.
causing cancer.
I have been saying that forever, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, there she goes again. There she goes again."
But you see, not a lot of people's like I never heard that. And I've been for
Yeah,
2 years connected to you, but you
yeah.
see, I there is just like you said, if you don't know what button to click to get there, the enemy
Mhm.
will hinder you from that knowledge because
Yes,
knowledge is power. And
correct.
every time we have
Mhm.
knowledge and we are able to put it into application in our own lives,
Mhm.
we feel stronger, more empowered from the
Mhm.
inside out, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And I really believe that more knowledge is released, but the enemy would want to come and hinder it. But
Yes.
I believe our bodies are made to heal itself. I really
Yes.
believe that. There's God created this amazing bodies of
Mhm.
ours to heal,
Mhm.
but we are more sensitive to our bodies than anybody else.
Mhm.
Like if the doctor say, no, there's nothing wrong, the blood work looks good, everything is good, but you're not feeling good,
Mhm.
that is just you have this radar within yourself,
Yeah.
then you can tell that something is not wrong,
Yes.
right?
I always wanna empower patients to not be reactive, but be okay whenever you are gaslighted, because gaslighting in the medical community, it happens a lot. And I mean, I had it happen to me. I had scopes up, down, left, right. And I remember one of my colleagues was we were reviewing my results of my last MRI that I had done, and they're like, there's really nothing wrong. And the
Mhm,
way that they looked, it may have been my own, it may have been my own feeling guilty. I thought, they don't believe me, and they're like, put down the show, like, stop with the acting. You're young, you're healthy, there's nothing wrong.
mhm,
And the one hand, I felt just completely defeated.
mhm.
But on the other hand, friends, I felt liberated
Yeah.
because I was like, it hit me in that moment. The
Mhm,
medical system doesn't know everything.
mhm,
And I felt liberated to go out and try to figure it out. And I did, and I have access to medical journals and those type of things. So that
mhm,
that makes it easier in my regard, which is why I want to give that information, disseminate it to people, the everyday people to have.
mhm,
But yeah, don't allow that to defeat you or knock you down, because that can
mhm.
be the door that God actually opens for you.
So I hear often this leaky gut causes autoimmune disease or
Yeah.
AIDS with auto. What is a leaky gut? Some people's never heard of it. Probably they were
Great.
listening.
Yeah, great question. Yeah. So a leaky, you have what are called tight junctions, and if you put your knuckles together, it's kind of like that. You have cells that are supposed to stay together like that.
Mhm,
And whenever you have the inflammation, you have gluten can be a big trigger. One hint that I can give for people in autoimmune disease is really get rid of gluten. Almost always it is a factor. And so those tight junctions through that inflammation in the gut will get loose, and it
mhm,
will allow toxins that your gut is producing and or things that from your food to leak, which look at the ingredients list and everything. So if you have a leaky gut and you're eating chemicals, it's leaking out, and it is causing your body to have that systemic inflammation. That's why my joints were hurting. That's why I was developing those autoimmune symptoms. And your body starts rejecting its own cells. So there's a couple of theories when it comes to gluten. One, it causes that leaky gut. That leaky gut and that inflammation triggers the autoimmune. Another theory on this is that the gluten itself, the molecules in the body are similar to some within our own body, and
mhm,
our body reacts to that gluten because it's my belief is that it now reacts because trust me, I did not ever want to give up. I said, "The Lord gave me my daily bread. Like, give it to me." I did not want to get rid of gluten.
right?
I'm telling you, right? But
Mhm,
the enemy got into our food sources, and the enemy was the same thing in Genesis of the tree of
yeah,
knowledge, where we decided we're smarter. We're smarter
mhm,
than God. We're smarter than the way He designed it. We're gonna make wheat to where we can get more. We can harvest more from the same grain. So they
mhm,
chemically modified it, bioengineered it to where they can get more profit from the same crops.
mhm.
Seems smart. It was probably, innocent in and of itself, but we thought we knew better than God and we can make wheat even better. That change, my belief is that that's the biggest reason why we have that reaction.
Mhm,
And so it's similar to some of the cells in our body. Our body reacts to that gluten and then tags it. This is an enemy. And
mhm,
then what happens is our cells that are also similar to that chemical molecule, they get attacked too. So
mhm,
that's one of the theories, and then the other is just simply that inflammation and the body not being able to react the same way that it's supposed to, and we start having that autoimmune disease. The cells
mhm.
start to attack.
So if you're dealing with inflammation, what steps can you take to get rid of inflammation, even if you don't know if you have it? The
Yeah.
majority of people, I
Mhm.
believe, they do have it, right?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
is the steps beside gluten? Because I really believe gluten here in America is much more
It is.
um, I don't even know, chemically induced than
Modified, yeah,
anything
yeah,
else because
genetically
you can
modified.
go to yes, you can go to Italy and
Mhm.
you can have all the pasta and
Yes.
bread and people are not big and they don't have
Yes.
all this health condition,
Mhm.
and it's just like you were saying that it's
Yeah.
just so processed in here.
Correct. Yeah, I know, and there are a lot of there are thousands of testimonies that I've seen of people actually just moving to a different country because of that.
Hey, I'm not moving nowhere. I'm married.
All right. Yeah. I'm like,
Get
you
rid of me.
you don't have to move. You don't have to. We can actually make changes.
We can do it. Yes.
Yeah. The number one things are to just avoid chemicals. I
Mhm.
don't care about calorie. Like you're talking about somebody putting on 1,200.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. And not only that, but you're going to trigger your metabolism to slow down to
Mhm.
where you just store more.
Yeah.
It's we know that that doesn't work. One, just really get rid of the chemicals.
Mhm.
Start looking at labels and get rid of anything that the label is not just a whole food. Like if you buy something that's seasoned or anything like that, avoid MSG.
Mhm.
That's one of the really big triggers. It's also neurotoxin,
Mhm.
so it can trigger anxiety and depression in and of itself.
And this
Avoiding
is a lot of seasoning.
it isn't a lot. You can even
It
I brought it home on accident. I
Mhm.
thought, it looked like a real natural label, and then I looked at it, looked at the what seasonings were in it, and MSG was one of them. That's not a seasoning, that's a chemical.
Yes, it
But
is.
avoiding chemicals, most people probably need to avoid bread. Not everybody. You can do a test to see if you are gluten intolerant,
Mhm.
and I'm not talking about celiacs. I'm talking
Right.
about gluten intolerance. It is different. Um, going on an anti-inflammatory diet, which is pretty much just eating whole foods, those type of things.
Mhm.
Avoiding chemicals in your lotions that you put on your skin. Your skin is your biggest organ; it absorbs everything into you.
Mhm.
Avoiding, people. You can do a lot of different things. We can go really far with this, but air filters. There's a lot of chemicals and everything in the air.
Mhm.
The ozone and everything does not have great. Now, I always say, don't get afraid of living, right?
That's
We
right.
just do the best with what we can. Like pick the
Yeah.
things that are doable for you and then do those things.
Yes.
So anti-inflammatory diet is really a huge thing. And then also, finding out and realizing like if you have constipation, you have diarrhea or anything like that, figuring out what your trigger is, because that really is a huge thing for reversing that, and testing, doing a GI map.
Mhm.
That's really one of the best way to do that. You can also do like water filtration. If you go to ewg I think it's .org. If it's not, it's .com. Then I have no affiliation. Yeah, EWG, and it's a fantastic website that does water testing in every city,
Mhm.
and they will tell you what your water great, yeah, thank you. What your water in your area is
Okay.
contaminated with.
Okay.
A lot of them are really bad. Like, town that I used to live in, it was actually contaminated with chromium-6, which if anyone knows that Aaron Brockovich movie where the town was, becoming riddled with cancer, still very high in some cities.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of ways that you can also help yourself, and
So
then
if you get the testing back and your water is all of our waters has some
it
junk in it.
does, yeah.
So how you filter your water?
So I use a Berkey uh, water filtration system,
It's
and
on your faucet or it's just separate?
yeah, you have to pour it in there, so it's a little
Okay.
bit cumbersome. Doing some of those filters are at least probably better than nothing,
Mhm.
meaning the ones that attach to the tap.
Mhm.
Reverse osmosis is the best that you can really implement, and you can get even like the Colligan systems and those type of things hooked up to your house. That's obviously an expensive
Right, right.
choice, but
Mhm.
and people will some people say, oh, don't drink the water out of the faucet and don't even filter it. It's still just really bad. Drink bottled water. Well, then you're exposed to the phthalates and the plastics in the water.
Okay.
So my personal belief is that filtered water with a good filtration system is absolutely best.
Mhm.
But certainly if you aren't able to do that, or you can't get a really good one, just trying to do the best that you can. I mean, it's you know
That's just so broad. Oh my gosh, we need
Mhm.
like weeks to go through this.
Oh yeah, years.
Yes, so much we can learn from, but uh,
Mhm.
you was mentioned that you are you are planning to do some classes. So let me share this with your website. So this
Yeah.
is your website here, and those who are listening, they can at least reach out to you, and then you can guide them to those classes whenever they come up, or
Yeah.
the academy or whatever you are doing, because
Mhm.
somebody like myself would love to follow because I love to gain wisdom and understanding.
Yeah.
We have this Yuka app. Did you heard of that?
Yuka app.
Yuka, yes. So I will pull it up
No.
this so I can see it. It's YUKA, and it's on your app if you have an
Oh
Android,
no, I do know what you're
Apple.
talking about. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and then you literally can
Mhm.
scan. I'm not sure if you can
Yes, that's
see
a
it, but
good.
you can
Yes, fantastic.
scan
Hmm.
lotions, because I literally start
Hmm.
to scanning the lotions because they were saying how the lotions have so much chemicals and then it can affect my mood and just
Hmm.
the
Yep.
thyroid and the
Yeah.
inflammation. And there are so many deodorants and toothpaste and
Hmm.
body lotion, shampoos that are free and you can get it from Walmart. But through the Yuka app, I'm literally like, I'm Yuka and everything. So my
Yeah,
girls
that's
are
a great
telling me,
tip.
Mom,
Mhm.
put the Yuka away. We want to get this anyways. And I'm like, oh,
Sometimes you're just like, no, 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 I don't want to
right. Like, I don't want to
know.
hear that, but let's Yuka it. So I literally have, like, I scan everything, not everything, but
Yeah.
a lot of stuff because I want to learn and I want to take care of this body. God gave us
It
one
is the
life.
temple. Hmm.
He gave us one body,
Hmm.
and I want to be a good steward of it.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
I'm still working. I'm a work in progress, especially when it comes to food. It's
Everyone
like
is, everyone
food.
is. And one of the things that I want to give for encouragement whenever it comes to food is whenever we've trained our gut bacteria to grow the way that it is through our diet, and we're going through that transition and we're getting rid of the bad bacteria, and we're getting rid of the overgrowth of the bacteria that's just there's just too much of it there, maybe even yeast overgrowth.
Mhm.
When we go through that, it's really hard.
Yeah.
But whenever you change that gut bacteria, you will have different cravings. And
Mhm.
once you really fully heal that gut, the like for example, yeast overgrowth is very common, especially if you eat sugar and carbs. I
Mhm.
used to be I am not kidding, the big like the back of my neck would burn because I wanted sugar so bad. I was legitimately physiologically addicted.
Yeah.
Psychologically, it was a very, very strong issue for
Mhm.
me. And whenever you'll go through when you heal that gut and you truly heal it, you'll go through a Hexheimer reaction and you feel really sick. And it's because those bacteria are dying off. And ooh, you feel really
You
horrible.
feel like you have the flu,
The
like
flu. It
legit,
is really, yeah,
like you have the
yeah,
flu, and then you go to the clinic and there's nothing wrong with you, but it's just this reaction.
exactly. Yeah. And once you've gone through that and you're on the other side of it, there's still going to be some psychological addictions there. But I'm telling you, I literally don't want sugar like I used to. Do I sometimes? Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it will get better. It can get better, and you just have to kind of fight through it. And it's always a work in progress. I
Mhm.
mean, this is, getting to where I'm at
I
now is
always
probably
say
a
I'm
process.
work in progress, but I don't
Mhm.
allow combination. If I have the chocolate cake that I want and I have the coffee that I want with it, because this is my to go. When I have stress, I want chocolate and coffee. It must be a
Well,
European
you can make cake that's
training.
healthy too, like that's healthier, and there are a lot
Right.
of tricks and
Even in
stuff.
the coffee, I start to getting the bear ay, 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 bear. I forgot the name of it. But anyways, you can get it from the health food store and you can get one for focus and cardio care. And it's coffee. It tastes coffee. It is
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
But it
coffee,
don't have
just
all the
make
chemicals.
sure it's organic because the pesticides in coffee are very high.
That's right.
Pesticides is another one that can mess up hormones really badly.
Yes.
But coffee in itself actually has antioxidants, and
Mhm.
it's actually stimulating to the brain, so it actually helps some there. So I'm not an anti-coffee person.
Well, I am not
But
either, but I know sometimes my body say you need a break. And
yeah,
I'm like, well, hold on, I have so much stress going on. I need my chocolate and my coffee.
yeah,
But it is a self-discipline. It
yeah.
all starts with, just like we started the podcast out, with the mind.
Mhm.
We have to get a different perspective, and until you don't have a different perspective, you try to do it physically and you
Mhm.
will fall off the wagon because your mental state is not locked in yet
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
that change. So it
Yeah.
all starts with a mental change.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for this upcoming classes. And I pray that it would accelerate and really fast, God, downloading everything you
Mm.
need, because we need it now.
Yeah, yeah. Put me in hyper mode.
Yes. It's like, okay, Lord, thank you for 48 hours a day. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly, yeah.
But is there anything else you would like to share with those who are struggling physically due to, I mean, mentally due to the
Mhm.
physical issues?
Yeah, I would just say to, you know, to know that your pain can literally be made into your purpose. And,
Mhm.
I fully understand what it's like to have that invisible disease. I understand what it's like to feel judgment from people who don't understand what you're going through. And just know that you're not alone, and that, God is building a warrior out of you through this, and he will
That's
lead
awesome.
you into incredible things with it, as long as you keep that vision open, and you don't allow that the vision of this world to block you from seeing your potential, because that's the first thing that it does. Just like in the garden, I keep on going back to the Garden of Eden, because that's really when it all happened. The
Yeah,
first thing that Adam and Eve did was they hid themselves. They felt shameful.
that's right.
That stopped them from having that immortal life, everlasting with the Lord, and they were going to have an expiration on their life. So
Yes,
just remember that it is an attack of the enemy. 100% is. You were made in the image of God, who is perfect. He did not make you any other way, and you just have to keep on his path, and take the action,
that's right.
do the things, even if it's just a step at a time, and
Mhm.
just making everything a little bit better week by week. You will get there. Your journey will you'll your journey.
Yes. Well, if there's any way, there's the Fully Loaded Women's Organization can link up with you and support you in any way, or give you the resources, platforms, whatever you need. Feel free to reach out to us, because your
Same.
calling and your gifting, it's vital to us. It's vital to this generation. And I pray a blessing over you and your family. I pray a blessing over everything you touch, the vision that God is giving you, that it will come to fruition to those who are listening, that they can get help, that they can get hope, and eventually walking their purpose.
Mm,
Because God indeed sent us Jesus, right?
yes.
And Jesus came that we have life, that we have
Mm,
life in abundance, to the full, to that overflows. And until we don't reach that, I really believe that we are shortcutting God's glory on this earth.
yeah.
And I pray those who are listening that dig into further information, whatever
Mhm.
you have. If the doctors labeled you, because like I say,
Mhm.
Hashimoto could be one of my labels.
Yeah.
I'm just not taking it as my own. It's just an attack on my body that
Mhm.
I'm learning how uh, to get rid of, because that title don't belong to me. Jesus already paid for that title. So
Amen.
whatever, if there is diabetes, or if there is PTSD, or whatever this world want to label you,
Mhm.
there is a way out. There is help, there is hope, and there is healing for you. And feel free to visit Dr. Lawrence's website, and there's the QR code. Scan it, go back, reach out to her, and I'm pretty sure whenever you have classes or um, next events that comes up, I'm pretty sure it's on your website as well, and they can find it.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I also know on your Facebook page, I think it's a private page, I'm not sure, but you
I
are
do.
putting amazing videos out
Well,
that
thank you.
help.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
I love it.
Try to stay a little bit. I never liked social media until I decided that I was going to do my own thing, and I kind of just had to start doing it. But I try to give some information out there. Yeah.
I know. I mean, it is hard to juggle, because I'm the
It
same way.
is.
It's
Yeah.
like I I can post so much more. I just don't have the time sometimes. And it's just
Yeah.
like I need 10 of me to accomplish everything. But
Exactly.
my heart and passion is to indeed help us, help
Yeah.
all of us, help, because God got us in this generation where all this craziness is going on, right?
Mhm.
And if in Mark 16, Jesus said, if I drink any deadly thing, it shall not harm me. I still believe in the supernatural.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah. I mean, our faith and our belief is
Yes.
just powerful enough as any is more powerful than anything else and
That's
is
right.
more than
But we
enough.
need to use wisdom. I cannot just shut my
Right.
eyes and just like, Lord, I don't want to hear that. I love my sugar. That's not, that's not
When
real
your
faith.
subconscious mind still hears it, and I'm a firm believer that that's really what blocks a lot of blessings that we're supposed to have, but we
Yes.
psychologically block. We don't have the full faith. Yeah.
No, I believe so too. So we just have to learn discipline, and that's I think is very very complicated in these time to have discipline because everything is microwave generation, right? Whatever
Yeah.
you need is right here. So
Yeah.
having discipline to walk something through it. And
Mhm.
Miss Polly, she said, "Thank you for all the information." She's doing a phenomenal job. She literally
Yeah.
decided, like, you know what? I will take care of my body. I will make sure I lose weight, and she is really doing great. I'm like, I need to glean from her.
Fantastic. Way to go, Polly.
That's right. Woo, woo, woo.
I love
Well,
it.
thank you everybody who tuned in and listening, and thank you, Dr. Lauren,
My
for
pleasure.
your time. And I hope you will come back and we can expand some more because these couple minutes, there's barely information we really can
Yeah.
give those who are listening. And but thank you for those nuggets that you have given us today.
You're very
And
welcome. Thanks for having
um,
me.
everybody have a great rest of your day and blessings to you. And I see you next week on the next